If I were to tell you that my roots were in Middletown, New York, I might not tell you much. But if you were any from that area and you heard my last name, you'd probably say, "Oh, you must be Dr. Gillman's son." And you'd already like me. It seemed like everybody knew that, what a great skin doctor he was and what a mensch he was. Now, not as many people knew my mom, but anybody who did admired her at least as much. And it was amazing to me, long after my dad was gone, it's how much cachet my last name had. And it's just really a gift to have a parentage that is that well loved and respected in the community. So to give you a sense of who these trunks were on my tree. One time I was in a Cub Scout group. My dad was driving a station wagon full of us down to Colonial Williamsburg. We knew that they charged you by how many people were in the car when you entered. So we were all excited. So the smallest one was squirreled underneath the luggage. And we out of sight. My dad goes up and pays the proper amount. I saw that. And then I saw the attendant try and give him change. And my dad just kind of waved off and went. I processed that. Because not only was it a model of integrity for me, but I realized he did it in such a way that he didn't spoil our fun. When I was young, my dad was unable to work for a long stretch of time, and he was really struggling, trying to support a wife and 4 kids. Didn't have disability insurance. What he did have was 5 colleagues within a 2-hour radius of where we were. These skin doctors each took a day off of work for a week, drove to my father's office, covered his patients, gave the money to my mom, did that for months till my dad was well enough to go back to work. Now, that is an insurance policy you cannot find anywhere. And it's only available to someone who's earned an enormous amount of respect and love, which he got not only from his colleagues, but all of his patients, because he had this phenomenal memory for thousands and thousands of patients. He could pick up the conversation they had the last time they were in there. He was in the hospital after a heart attack one time, and I was reading him his get well cards. And there were just like hundreds and hundreds of these handwritten notes, you know, thanking him for his personability and his care. And after one of these visits, I was with my mom. We went down to the car at the parking lot, and she turned to go back in, and I said, "Did you forget something, Mom?" She said, No, I just have to put another dime in the payphone." I said, "Well, the call's over. You can just forget about it." She said, No, the operator said I needed to put 10 more cents in. I didn't have it. Now I have it. Go back up. I thought she was crazy, but you know, God love her, and so do I, and she's still with us, and she's sharp as beat at 90 years old. And the last heart attack my dad had, it was very obvious that he wasn't coming home from that one. So there was this real urgency to sell his medical practice, and the way those sales work, if it's not done while the owner is still living, it ends up being worth zilch. So there's this very delicate, tenuous time there, and my mom should have been able to charge twice as much for what his practice was worth, but it's based entirely on a tax record. So it doesn't matter what he could have made if he was charging the going rate or not allowing his patients to pay whatever they could afford. And during this time, there was one young vulture, I'll call him, who knew really what that practice was worth. And he was circling, and he was making very aggressive pitches to my mom. She didn't really care for his approach to this practice. He was really into expensive cosmetic surgery, which my dad had no interest in. She also didn't really appreciate the way he was dealing with a woman who was about to lose her husband of 35 years. And her entire financial security rested on the sale of this practice. And he was upping it up and upping up, and any second it could be worth nothing. And we're begging her, take it, you know, and she finally just said, "My husband cultivated this practice for 3 decades, and I'm not going to sell it to some snot-nosed mercenary brat no matter how much he offers me." Hard not to admire that stubbornness, but every day we're just like, Unfortunately, a guy came out of nowhere. He was just like good old style medicine, just like my dad, and the old school, and in the nick of time. So, why do I tell these stories? To brag at my parents? Well, actually, it's because sometimes I think, wouldn't it be easier that these paragons of virtue that I'm trying to, follow? And it's a challenge, and but the roots of a family tree can run deep. Sometimes I think, wouldn't it be easier to just be the product of some lazy, slow down, good for nothing? That'd be easier, wouldn't it? But the roots of family trees run deep, and I've got 2 kids now. And if someday someone comes up to one of them and says, "Oh, you must be Jackson Gillman's kid," I just hope they're as proud of those roots, the roots as I am.